sumac, and we forage fir and juniper, and those are all the ingredients that we work with to make our meads.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
You should try some.
Yeah, I will have to. Yeah.
Actually, relieve her for a little bit, so maybe, have fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, if you want to look us up, we're at Enlightenment Wines on the internet. We have Instagram. I just posted Is there a hashtag for all this?
Yeah, Gotmead Live. Hashtag Gotmead Live.
Oh, are you the Gotmead person? Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish you had been there. It was really interesting. I'm sorry, I didn't know if you were with the fair. I didn't put the name together.
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm Vicky Rowe. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's really interesting. I wanted to actually talk about the role of the internet and shaping mead culture, because when I started, I've been making mead for 20 years. So I was making it and trying to learn to make it when there was no real
There was no internet. There wasn't any books either.
And one of the things that was interesting is I was trying to understand why, when it's really, especially in the last, since, the Ancient Ales book came out and those, ancient wine books, and we started to have a really good historical record of mead. One of the things that's really obvious is that everybody made mead around the world,
yeah.
And the old stuff's from China and India, and it's not from Norway or Finland, and those are actually relatively new, and it's weird that there's such a preoccupation with the Nordic legacy and the English legacy of mead making. And part of that has to do with the fact that, we're American, we speak English, we can read Beowulf, and it gets endlessly repurposed. But then I actually started really digging, and let me hold on. I'm going to give you this.
We're coming in back here. Raphael's got some references he wants to talk about.
So, virtually everything that people know about mead comes from this book in 1948, which is,
It was the first book out there. So.
Yeah, which has some interesting information, but it's just horribly racist, brutally racist. And
1948.
Yeah, it's 1948, written by an Englishman. I mean, there's chapters on Aryan meads, and there's a whole chapter on non-Aryan meads and why they're not as good. And so you have this storyline that he produces with some historical evidence to back it up. I mean, because yes, the Vikings did make mead, and yes, the English had mead, and there is truth to that. But what's wrong about it is putting it at the center of a global story. And so the story that he tells is a story about mead coming from Greeks into the Romans, into England, and and into the aristocracy. He's also really into rich people and that scene. And so that's just the history that he wants to tell. And we still get this, in my lecture I was looking at I just Googled metheglin because I wanted to get the spelling right. And I was like, why do we use that term? We use it because he wrote it in this book, and it's Welsh. And he liked Welsh stuff, and he liked English stuff. And, this recipe for Celtic Druid honey mead, a metheglin, with cinnamon, ginger.
The metheglin term goes back to the 1600s.
Oh, no, it's much older than that. It goes back to Greeks. It's
least,
Latin.
Yeah.
It's Latin.
But that's why he called it that, because they were making spiced meads and calling them metheglins.
Right, but even that word spice, it's a mistranslation of metheglin, which means medicine. The Latin roots of metheglin are medicine.
Yeah.
So he does two things at once. He kind of disowns a lot of the folk traditions and the herbal traditions of people using mead and making mead in their house, and also as medicine. And he kind of talks about this in terms of spice. And it's weird because if you go to Ethiopia and they make tej, which is a mead with roots in it, which are medicinal, and it's why they do it. There's no reason to call it a metheglin. It's just like calling it an Ethiopian Welsh.
They have their own name for it.
Yeah. And what I tried to trace in the lecture is how this initial book has left its mark on a lot of the ways that we talk about mead, and why we really need to rethink a lot of these terms and a lot of these categories, because they're not. It's not so much that they're inaccurate. Metheglin is the right word for Welsh spiced mead or Welsh medicinal mead. The question is whether or not we want to put that at the center of a mead made in the United States, which has all these other influences and really can be anything. And also from a business person, we have a business, and what the we don't use any of these words, for example, in our tasting room, because it's just hard to pronounce. And how does that impact our customer base? How does stories of macho dudes with axes and stuff in mead halls, which is a true thing that happens, how does that affect our women clientele, which is half of our mead drinkers? Which, the beer world would kill to have half the beer drunk by women. So, the only subject position for a woman in a story about mead halls is to be like a prostitute or a busty lass serving the mead, right? And if you don't want to be that person, like, that's not the imagery you want to present. So that's what the lecture was about. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Was to like kind of trace this history, think about this book. I mean, there's some quotes in here like this whole thing about like it is only among the white people, particularly among the Aryans, that mead reached such a great degree of development. Like this is like the book's filled with this kind of stuff. And it's
it was the 40s.
Yeah,
yeah.
It was the 40s. So, but it's not the 40s anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's our job to actually bring this stuff up, talk about it, and sort of think through it a little bit in a more, because it's so easy to just repeat stuff over and over again on the internet.
Yeah.
And like, it's important to go back to original sources, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'd love to talk to you about this more sometime in the future.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I got to go on and talk in a half an hour.
Oh,
so
great. I want to go see that.
Yeah.
Are you going to be around for a day or two? Or
I'm headed back on Monday. I have to. My husband's headed out to Boston, so I got to go take care of the puppies.
Are you going to come to the after party? It's.
I think we're gonna. Yeah, I got to talk to Bobby. He's my thing.
Let me give you. We're going to do a collaboration with Yes Folk, who does the tonics and stuff at Honey's, which is our tasting room. So that's sort of the after party, but it'll be like around 7.
Okay.
But
I don't know how long we're staying in town, but
I'll give you one of these. It's our drink ticket. It's like we have our own money now.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
So if you do come by, you can have a drink on us. And
Thank you,
I'd love to taste you do stuff, but I know you're busy.
Okay.
So
yeah, let me finish this, and I'm going to come back around. I've only gotten through half the meadery, so
okay, great.
I'm pacing myself.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go on down to another meadery here, and see if we can get some input. So, yeah, give me, what do you got? Hi, Andrew. Pretty good. So what do you think about this second annual New York Fermentation Fest?
I think it's fantastic. I'm really super excited to see a bunch of mead makers together. You get a lot of people who are mead enthusiasts, but people who are also new to it, kind of mingling together. And just hearing a lot of great feedback. We have the Long Island Beer Malt Enthusiast tent. We got 2 meads on tap, and hearing a lot of great feedback from everybody. So
that's really great. I hope we get some more meaderies next year. It'll be great.
Yeah. I think it's awesome to help grow the industry and help grow the craft and the consumers.
Well, Kuzmi's already talking about having more than one of these a year.
That'd be fantastic.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be very, very cool.
Like I need to be in New York. I'll gain 20 pounds a year if I'm here more than once a year. This place is evil.
You gotta come out to my house on the East End.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I got a spare bedroom you can hang out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Come stay with you next time. I'll stay with Bobby this time.
Yeah, stay with me.
Airbnb Bob,
Yeah. a lot of breweries, a lot of wineries. Come hang out. You can come stay with me and the wife.
That sounds good. Let's meet your wife. It'll be awesome. Trying to juggle a computer and doing interviews at the same time, y'all. So bear with me. This is fairly new here. So Sergio, how's this coming out for you?
Pretty good. Are we live?
Yeah, we are live.
Oh crap!
Yeah, talk.
Just jumping.
Sergio, talk.
No, it's awesome here. We got 6 meaderies here at the New York City Fermentation Fest. I think it's actually the row that all 6 meaderies are in are most definitely the busiest section of the whole fest. It's the most consistently populated. Everybody's drinking a bunch of different styles, and I don't think it could have gone any better other than next year bringing in even more.
Yeah, I'd have to say I've walked around the whole place, and yeah, it's slammed on this side.
Yeah, I think everybody's getting a really cool feel for all these different styles from 6 different meaderies. I think there's probably not any 2 meads that are alike going from table to table here between the 6. Just the Bean Nectar table, the Salt Point and Misto. I mean, everybody's, 810 Mead Works has their own style too. It's everybody's got their own style. And how many different meads do we have pouring here right now? Probably at least a good 20 something.
At least, yeah.
At least. Yeah. I still need to make my way down the row and taste everybody else's stuff now.
I've only managed to hit about half of them. I can't get anywhere near the table half the time.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, everybody's really stopping and taking time and asking questions, really interested in mead. So it's great for the New York City, Brooklyn area. This is awesome. This is like education, mead awareness going on over here.
So how fast did you go through the blueberry mead this morning? And what's the name on it again? Because I forget.
Yeah, it's one of our jam sessions. So we're rotating through all the different fruits: blueberry, blackberry, raspberry, you name it. It's the fastest moving mead that we make. It's big, sweet. It's like liquid jam.
He's not shitting. It really was.
Yeah.
I got some. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's gone. Now we got our Peachy Palmer, our peach iced tea mead, and our Citra Bitcha, which actually coincidentally Bobby named that for me because I couldn't think of a clever name for it. It's all Citra hop, double dry hopped IPA style mead, which I've been told by a few people that we need to actually come up with a category name for because it's
the
not
hopped meads. Yeah, Hopamels or something.
It's not even. It's because this is literally a beer style mead. It's not just a metheglin because it's hopped. It's not just dry hopped. It's literally brewed. It's and all different styles of beer styles that we've been making too. It wouldn't be if this catches on, which I really do think it will. We need a name for it.
All right. Well, there's Andrew Lamberto, who's with the BJCP, right over there. We could just make him good. Yeah. We need a hopped style category. We need a hopped mead
beer style mead.
A beer style mead category.
A beer style mead
Yeah.
category?
Could you take care of that for us, please?
Yes.
Get right on that, right?
Yeah, we'll get on it right away.
I thought you were going to call Gordon Strong right now. Come on.
Yeah. Just pick up the phone and call Gordon and let's get that taken care of.
Yeah, I would like definitely see some expanded categories. Probably like in the National Homebrew Conference would be great if they expanded.
I've noticed that the beer categories have expanded like enormously.
Yeah, well, they just updated the guideline. I mean, it needed it. It definitely needed it. But they updated the guide and they added I think they added like another 30 or 40 different beer styles or something like that. So.
Yeah, I feel like we're totally being underserved here, as you know, because I mean, I could sit down and write you up another 10, 15 cats that we really kind of need to have for me to, peppers, capsicums. I mean, they need their own category. They're everywhere.
I think they did a pretty good job, though, at least. I mean, it was a good start as far as they added a few more categories than just AP.
Yeah.
They kind of split out like the vegetable meat stuff, so it just doesn't fall in their open category, Just because there's like rhubarb in a mead, it's all of a sudden it would have to go into open category before. Now there's a specific category.
This is true. It has expanded. Yeah. But man, we're seeing such an explosion. I think that BJCP is going to have to ramp on that a bit.
Well, my suggestion to anybody is if you feel you're an expert on a certain style of mead, to write up a description of it and then submit it to the BJCP. And a lot of times they'll use that. It's all volunteer based, so it's not like one person in a room devising these categories. It's like someone writes it up. They just haven't with New England IPAs. I mean, there was such a demand for it. Somebody finally just wrote it up, and now that's been kind of circulating around. So,
well, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And then in 7 years it'll become official. And
is that like common law categories?
What is it like every 8? Yeah, about 8 years maybe.
For a while, it was pretty regular for a while, but the last one, it was the longest one, and it definitely needed it. You got to be careful though, because it's like there's different trends. 5 years from now, people are going to be like, "What, New England IPA?" I mean, think of like black IPAs. That was all the rage forever, and then it's like, I don't even know anybody who's doing that anymore.
Love them. Yeah, nobody makes them anymore. So now, if there was a category just for that,
there is a category.
There is. Oh, there was.
Is there a category for? Is there a category for? Oh my God! I just basically stuffed hops in a bottle and added some water.
Yeah. I think a lot of the New England IPAs, unfortunately.
Yeah, this race to the hops thing just cracks me up. It really does.
Yeah, like quadruple dry hopped. I'm like, all right,
now they got sour IPAs. It's starting to like really kind of.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with sours.
It's all right. I mean, a sour IPA. I actually just had one last night for the first time, and it was interesting. I can't drink a whole lot of it, but I mean, it works.
Does it?
I mean, when it's well made, I guess.
Yeah.
I had one. It was from Hudson Valley Brewers here.
I just did the best of show for the Homebrew Alley, and they had like 680 entries or something like that. And the one we picked for third place was like a pretty hoppy wild fermentation. It was good. You know, Brett, I think I had like lacto in it. It was a good beer. It was definitely